everyone, and welcome to Series 2 of FSG Financial TV. This month, we're going to be going over the needs of the retiree and how FSG can help those who are either preparing for retirement or in retirement. Episode, Brice and Kyle are going to address one of the biggest questions that retirees have, and that's how do I make sure that I don't outlive my money? Be sure to stick around to the end for an opportunity to win some FSG gear and enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, Brice and Kyle here with FSG Financial TV, episode number 7. Today we are going to be talking about how you can be sure that you don't outlive your money. And this is a question we get all the time. People are concerned about it. It's a big part of financial planning and retirement planning specifically. So how can we ensure we don't outlive our money?
You know, one of the biggest things that I think of is expectations.
Yep.
I did
and don't expect to die early. Yeah. That's not the plan. That's not a good strategy.
You know, I did an article a while back called The B Word, and really what I'm talking about is budget. You know, the biggest thing that I think comes up with retirees is they have that expectation when they retire that they can live on a certain set of income.
Right.
Is that always reality? You know, that's the biggest question. Right?
Well, yeah. So I think you got to set absolutely expectations. I like saying set expectations better than set a budget because a budget sounds like
that's why I say it's the B word, right? You don't want to say it, but you have to know what's coming in and what's going out.
Absolutely. And so I think there's a couple quick tips we can give here on budgeting in retirement. One would be to make sure that you're factoring in taxes. Factor in, if you're comparing pre-retirement income, that you're factoring in that right now you're saving. Right? So if you make $70,000 a year and you put 10% in your 401k, you have $63,000 in income, right?
Yep.
So those all kind of play in, and you're still going to pay taxes in retirement, but on most of your income you won't have Social Security taxes, which can add up to a lot.
And also have that expectation that the early years of retirement you're going to be more active, you're going to do more things. So
we call this retirement phases.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Phase 1. You feel good, you're healthy, you're relatively young in your early years in retirement. That's when you want to travel and see the grandkids, right?
That's when you travel and see the grandkids.
Phase 2?
Phase 2 would be, the slowdown phase, I guess you could call it. I don't know what the technical book term is, but, essentially you've done all those things. You've seen it, you've been to the Grand Canyon, you've traveled, you've taken your trailer, across the country, and you've seen the things that you wanted to see. Now you're back at home.
So now the expenses, maybe in those first year retirement years, we were 110% of what our pre-retirement income. Maybe this phase 2 is maybe 80% or so. Phase 3, late retirement. This can be extremely, extremely low cost or extremely high cost, depending on healthcare issues. So,
correct.
You got to plan for that inevitability, unfortunately.
Yep. As we are continuing to implement more and more YouTube videos, we want to make sure to engage you and make it creative. So from now on, each episode, we are going to have a trivia question. When I think about making sure I don't outlive my money, I think about during retirement how I want to travel and make sure I have a great time. So this week's trivia question is, in what year was the first motorhome invented? Was it A, 1910, B, 1924, C, 1932, or D, 1945? Make sure you stay tuned for your answer.
All right. So, Brice, what is withdrawal rate?
So, all right. So we're set our expectations. Now we need to know how much we need to get out of our accounts in order to meet those expectations, right? And that's a withdrawal rate. So all a withdrawal rate is the amount you're taking out of your account divided by the value of your accounts, right? So if you have $1 million account and you are taking out $20,000 a year, that's a 2% withdrawal rate, right? Just to use simple, easy round numbers. Safe withdrawal rate is a bigger question, right?
It is a bigger question. And it's not always the same for everybody in each stage of their life, right? But what is the rule of thumb that we always hear about?
You hear the 4% rule of thumb, 4%. Right? Now, if you only have, if you have a shorter life expectancy, that withdrawal rate could be higher. If you retire at 55 and everybody in your family lives to 95, 4% is going to break you because you need to factor in inflation and market fluctuation, all those other things. So a safe withdrawal rate, I would argue, there is not a rule of thumb. Maybe you could start with 4% and subtract or add from there, But I don't think there's a real good
I
rule
don't
of
think so
thumb.
either. Well, and that's the importance of us.
That's financial planning.
That's financial planning. That's
right.
why we're here.
Okay.
That's why we'll always be here, right?
Yep.
It is time for the answer to your weekly trivia question. This week, your question was, in what year was the first motorhome invented? A, 1910, B, 1924, C, 1932, or D, 1945? The answer is, in fact, A, 1910. The first motorhome was rolled off the production line by Los Angeles Trailer Works and Auto Camp Trailers. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of this episode for a chance to win some free FSG gear.
So to kind of just real broad, I mean, Brice, what are some tips and some strategies and some thoughts just off the top of your head that we think of with our clients?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones, and quite frankly, one of the simplest ones, is big expenses. So you're living in a house right now, and the roof maybe has a couple years left, and you're thinking about retiring. Replace the roof in your working years before you're on a fixed budget, because once you're on a fixed income, you can't show up to work the next day and make more money to pay for that roof.
Right, because oftentimes when you walk away from the job, they've already replaced you, right?
Yeah,
they're expecting you to go out and golf every day.
So, get rid of those big expenses. If you need a new roof, get the new roof done. If you have not got your will and your trust done, and that's a little bit of a cost, a couple $1,000s, get that done. Get those little things out of the way, so that way you're freeing up some income later in retirement.
Right, I agree.
A couple more tips.
The biggest things is guaranteed income, obviously. So everybody thinks of Social Security.
So this is a good strategy.
Yeah.
People talk about pensions, which not many of us have pensions anymore.
Correct.
Social Security is a source of guaranteed income. And then a lot of people come to us asking about annuities, right? And an annuity can be a guaranteed income stream.
Personal pension.
Right. Now, it's not right for everybody. It is, and there's really good annuities out there, and there's really bad ones. And so if this is a strategy you're contemplating, you really need to understand and know what it is that you're buying, right?
Yep.
It can produce an income stream for you that's guaranteed for life, but I urge due diligence on this particular strategy, right? It's not as simple as fixing the roof, right?
The biggest thing that I always talk about with my clients is if in retirement you're going to have to live within that budget and live within that income so you don't run out of money, why don't we start practicing now?
Yeah.
I mean, that you have to have that ability, that know, because there's a lot of fear with the unknown. Well, if you've done it for years leading up to your retirement, you're not necessarily scared about that, are you?
No, absolutely. And so I think the last thing would be you need to start this planning early, right? If you're retiring a month from now, we can't be looking at the budget and what your Social Security amount is and whether you need an annuity and getting the roof redone this tight. You got to start. And the earlier, ideally, the better, right? People our age really need to be focusing on hyper saving. That's a form of starting the planning. But later in life, if you're thinking 60 is your retirement date, you need to be interviewing financial planners at 50.
Or even earlier.
If not, absolutely.
I agree. Otherwise, we're handcuffed, right?
Yep.
How many times do you come in, clients come in, they lay everything out. We go through the process, and you're like, geez, if I'd only ran into you 5 years
I know,
sooner.
we're fixing plans, right? So which isn't, we can do it. We're happy to do it, but start early. So that wraps up this week's episode of FSG Financial TV. Again, subscribe to the page, like and follow, and hope you enjoy.
Take care.
Okay, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed that episode of FSG Financial TV. Be sure to send us an email at contact@fsgmichigan.net or give us a call at 800-804-0420 to meet with one of our advisors and go through your specific situation. Also, make sure to send us an email and let us know what your favorite takeaway from this episode was, and you'll enter into a chance to win some FSG gear. Thank you, and tune in next time.